Professor Kethvar Zilthara stood at the front of his lecture hall, his forearms moving smoothly as he arranged his notes. The classroom was packed with students from across the galaxy. Purple-skinned Zephyrians sat next to crystal beings from the Andromeda sector. 3 humans occupied seats in the back row, looking small compared to their alien classmates. The professor cleared his throat with a sound like wind through metal pipes. His blue skin shimmered under the soft lights as he began his presentation. Today, we will discuss the classification of intelligent species based on their eating habits and hunting behaviors, Zilthara announced. A holographic display appeared above his head, showing various alien creatures. As you know, all species in the galaxy fall into 3 clear groups. He pointed to the first image with one of his long, thin fingers. Herbivores. These species eat only plants. They are peaceful by nature and avoid conflict. The gentle ones of Kepler-9 are perfect examples. They have never fought a war in their 10,000-year history. The students nodded and took notes. The human in the back row, Dr. Alex Murphy, watched with interest but said nothing. Second, we have omnivores, the professor continued. The display showed creatures with both sharp and flat teeth. These species eat both plants and meat. They can be aggressive when needed, but prefer peaceful solutions. Most Federation species fall into this category. Zilthara's eyes briefly met those of Dr. Murphy. This includes our newest members, the humans from Earth. While they have a history of conflict, they have shown they can be civilized and peaceful when given proper guidance. Dr. Murphy shifted in his seat but remained quiet. His companion, Lisa Carter, the cultural attaché, placed a gentle hand on his arm. Finally, we have the true predators, Zilthara said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. The hologram showed fearsome creatures with massive teeth and claws. These are the dangerous ones. They hunt other intelligent beings for food. They cannot control their violent instincts. Thankfully, most predator species destroy themselves before achieving space travel. The few that survive are contained in prison worlds for the safety of the galaxy. The alien students looked impressed by their professor's knowledge. The humans in the back exchanged glances. Zilthara moved to his desk and picked up a datapad. Your assignment for next week is to choose any Federation species and write about which category they belong to and why. Remember, classification is simple. Herbivores are peaceful, omnivores can be taught peace, and predators are dangerous savages. As students began to pack their belongings, Dr. Murphy raised his hand. Professor, may I ask a question? Zilthara looked annoyed at being interrupted but nodded. Yes, Dr. Murphy? You classified humans as omnivores, but I'm curious about your reasoning. Have you studied human history in detail? The professor's blue skin darkened slightly. I have read the basic reports provided by your government. Humans eat both plants and animals. Therefore, you are omnivores. The classification is obvious. Dr. Murphy stood up slowly. He was tall for a human, but still shorter than most aliens in the room. With respect, Professor, I think there might be more to consider. For most of human history, we were hunters. We tracked animals across continents for days without stopping. We developed tools specifically for killing. We organized our entire society around hunting in groups. Primitive behavior. Zilthara waved one of his hands dismissively. All species go through savage phases before becoming civilized. Your people have clearly moved beyond such things. Have we? Dr. Murphy asked. Quietly. We still hunt animals for sport, not food. We compete in games that simulate combat. Our entertainment focuses on conflict and competition. We send our young people to fight in dangerous places, not because we have to, but because we think it builds character. The alien students were listening now, their various eyes fixed on the human. Lisa Carter looked uncomfortable, but she didn't stop her colleague. Zilthara's forearms crossed in front of his chest. Dr. Murphy, I have spent 40 years studying predator behavior across the galaxy. I know what true predators look like. They cannot form peaceful societies. They cannot cooperate with other species. They think only of hunting and killing. Humans have done none of these things since joining the Federation. Maybe, Dr. Murphy said, sitting back down. But maybe the reason we can be peaceful is because we're so good at not being peaceful when we need to be. Maybe our hunting instincts are still there, just pointed in different directions. The professor stared at the human for a long moment. The classroom was completely silent. Finally, Zilthara spoke. Dr. Murphy, I appreciate your input, but I am afraid you are wrong. Humans are clearly omnivores who have evolved beyond their primitive hunting phase. The evidence is clear to anyone who studies these matters scientifically. Dr. Murphy nodded politely. Of course, Professor, I'm sure you're right. But as the students filed out of the classroom, Zilthara found himself thinking about the human's words. Jake Morrison, the human military liaison, stopped by his desk as he was leaving. Interesting lecture, Professor, Morrison said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, though I think Dr. Murphy raised some good points. Commander Morrison, Zilthara replied stiffly. Surely you don't believe humans are actually predators? Morrison was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the alien city beyond. Professor, my grandfather used to hunt deer in the mountains of Colorado. He could track an animal for 3 days through snow and rain, never losing the trail. He said hunting taught him patience, strategy, and respect for his prey. The commander turned back to face the professor. That same grandfather later became a general and spent 30 years keeping peace in some of the most dangerous places on Earth. He said the skills were the same: patience, strategy, and respect for what you're facing. Morrison headed toward the door, then paused. The only difference was what he was hunting. After the humans left, Zilthara sat alone in his empty classroom. He looked at his classification chart still glowing in the air above his desk. For 40 years, he had been certain that his system was perfect. Every species fit neatly into one of 3 categories. But now he found himself wondering about something he had never considered before. What if he was wrong about humans? What if they were something his classification system couldn't explain? He pulled up his research files and began to type a new project proposal. He would study these humans more carefully. He would prove once and for all that they were nothing more than ordinary omnivores who had learned to be civilized. It should be easy, he told himself. After all, he was the galaxy's leading expert on predator behavior. He knew exactly what to look for. The professor had no idea that he was about to discover something that would change his understanding of the universe forever. Professor Zilthara entered his laboratory 3 days later with a stack of data pads and a strong cup of Zephyrian tea. His research assistant, Velnari, was already at work organizing files on human behavior. What have you found so far? The professor asked, settling into his chair with all 4 arms spread across his desk. Velnari, a young Zephyrian with bright silver markings on her blue skin, looked up from her screen. The humans have been very helpful, Professor. They gave us access to their historical records and even offered to answer questions directly. Good, Zilthara nodded. We will start with their diet and social structure. Basic omnivore behavior should be easy to document. He pulled up the first file on his screen. It showed images of human meals from across their planet. Vegetables, fruits, grains, and various cooked meats filled the display. See, he said to Velnari. Clear omnivore diet. They eat plants and animals in balanced portions. Very normal. But as he scrolled through more images, something caught his attention. What is this? He asked, pointing to a picture of humans gathered around a fire with large pieces of meat. That is what they call a barbecue, Professor, Velnari explained. It appears to be a social gathering where they cook meat over open flames and eat together in groups. Zilthara frowned. Why do they cook meat over fire when they have advanced cooking technology? I asked Dr. Stone about that, Velnari said, referring to the human evolutionary biologist who had agreed to help with their research. She said it connects them to their ancestors and makes the food taste better. The professor made a note on his pad. Primitive behavior, but harmless. What about their social structure? Velnari brought up a new file showing human families and communities. They live in small groups called families, but these groups are part of larger communities. They seem to work together well. Normal pack, behavior for omnivores. Zilthara muttered. But then another image made him pause. It showed humans in military uniforms standing in perfect lines. "What is this formation?" he asked. "Military organization, Professor." Dr. Stone explained that humans train their young adults in group fighting techniques, even during times of peace. Zilthara's blue skin grew darker. "They train for war when there is no war?" "Yes, Professor. They call it being prepared." Dr. Stone said most human governments require this training for their citizens. The professor set down his teacup with a sharp click. "Velnari, pull up information about human recreational activities. I want to see how they spend their free time." The young assistant's fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. Soon, the screen filled with images of humans engaged in various activities. There were pictures of humans running long distances, lifting heavy weights, and swimming in rough water. "They exercise their bodies extensively," Velnari observed. "Much more than any other species we have studied." "Why?" Zilthara asked, though he was beginning to suspect he wouldn't like the answer. According to Ben Rodriguez, their sports psychologist, they enjoy pushing their bodies to the limit. They compete against each other to see who is strongest, fastest, or most skilled. The professor scrolled through more images. Humans climbing tall mountains, jumping out of aircraft with fabric wings, racing vehicles at dangerous speeds. His forehands began to shake slightly. Velnari, these activities could kill them. Why do they do these things? His assistant pulled up her notes. Mr. Rodriguez said they find it fun. He used a word I had to look up. Adrenaline. It is a chemical their bodies produce when they are in danger, and they seem to enjoy the feeling it gives them. Zilthara stood up so quickly his chair rolled backward. "They deliberately put themselves in danger for pleasure?" "Yes, Professor, and that is not the strangest part. There is more." Velnari nodded and showed him a new set of images. Humans, in protective gear hitting each other with sticks. Humans in a ring punching each other. Humans tackling each other and fighting over a small ball. "They simulate combat for entertainment," she said quietly. "Millions of humans watch these competitions. They choose sides and become emotionally invested in which group of fighters wins." The professor sank back into his chair. "This cannot be normal omnivore behavior." "I thought the same thing, Professor, so I checked our database. No other species in the Federation engages in recreational combat. Even the species we classify as aggressive omnivores avoid unnecessary violence." Zilthara pulled up his communication system and sent a message to Dr. Stone, requesting an interview. Within an hour, the human scientist appeared on his screen via hologram. "Dr. Stone, thank you for speaking with us," the professor began. "I have some questions about human recreational activities." Dr. Stone, a middle-aged woman with graying hair, smiled warmly. "Of course, Professor. What would you like to know?" "Why do humans engage in dangerous activities for fun? And why do they simulate combat as entertainment?" Dr. Stone leaned back in her chair. "Those are excellent questions, Professor. The answer goes back to our evolution on Earth. For millions of years, humans survived by being active hunters and fighters. Our brains learned to reward us with good feelings when we engaged in these behaviors." "But you are civilized now," Zilthara protested. "Surely you have evolved beyond such primitive needs." "Professor, we have been civilized for only a few thousand years. Evolution takes much longer than that. Our bodies and brains are still designed for hunting and surviving in dangerous environments." Dr. Stone paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. "Think of it this way. We still have all the instincts and abilities of our hunting ancestors, but we live in a world where we do not need to hunt to survive. So we find other ways to use these instincts." "Like sports and competition?" Velnari asked. "Exactly. We compete in business and academics and games. We explore dangerous places like deep oceans and high mountains. We test ourselves against challenges because our brains are wired to enjoy overcoming obstacles." Zilthara felt a chill run through his body. "Dr. Stone, are you saying that humans still have active hunting instincts?" The human scientist nodded. "Very much so, Professor. We just direct them toward different targets now. Instead of hunting animals for food, we hunt knowledge, we hunt achievements, we hunt solutions to problems. After the communication ended, Zilthara sat in silence for several minutes. Velnari watched him nervously. "Professor," she said finally, "I have been thinking about something. I searched our database for other species that engage in recreational danger and competitive fighting. What did you find?" "Nothing, Professor. Humans are the only species that does these things. Even our most aggressive omnivores avoid unnecessary risks and conflicts." Zilthara looked at his classification chart on the wall. For the first time in 40 years, he began to wonder if his system might be incomplete. "Velnari, schedule interviews with more human experts. I want to understand their military history, their exploration patterns, and their problem-solving methods." "Yes, Professor." "What are we looking for exactly?" Zilthara stared at the images of humans still displayed on his screen. Humans climbing impossible cliffs, racing through dangerous courses, fighting each other for sport while crowds cheered. "I am not sure yet," he said quietly. "But I have a feeling we are going to discover something that will change everything." We thought we knew about classification systems. Outside his laboratory window, a human transport ship landed at the spaceport. Even from this distance, Zilthara could see the humans moving with quick, confident steps as they unloaded their cargo. They moved like nothing he had ever seen before. 2 weeks later, Professor Zilthara found himself aboard the research vessel Cosmic Endeavor, floating in the cold darkness between stars. He had requested permission to observe human crews in their natural work environment, expecting to find them struggling with the hostile conditions of space. Instead, he discovered something that made his blue skin turn pale with worry. "Welcome aboard, Professor," said Captain Steve Adams, a stocky human with graying hair and calm eyes. "We are honored to have you study our operations." Zilthara followed the captain through the ship's corridors, noting how the humans moved with easy confidence in the artificial gravity. The walls were covered with warning signs about radiation, vacuum exposure, and system failures, yet none of the crew seemed concerned. "Captain Adams, does it not bother your people to live surrounded by so much danger?" the professor asked. The captain looked puzzled. "Danger? Professor, space is just another environment. We take precautions and do our jobs. It is not really dangerous if you know what you are doing." They entered the bridge, where several humans worked at control stations. The main screen showed the black void of space dotted with distant stars. Zilthara felt a deep unease looking at the emptiness, but the humans seemed perfectly comfortable. "This is Engineer Katie Walsh," Captain Adams said, gesturing to a young woman with short brown hair. "She keeps our ship running." Katie looked up from her console with a smile. "Professor, I heard you are studying human behavior. Is there anything specific you would like to see?" Before Zilthara could answer, a loud alarm began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every wall. The professor jumped backward, his forearms flailing, but the humans remained calm. "What is happening?" Zilthara asked, his voice high with panic. "Coolant leak in Section 7, Katie reported, her fingers dancing across her controls. "We are losing pressure in the secondary systems." The professor watched in amazement as the humans smoothly moved into action. There was no shouting, no panic, no fear. They simply began working to solve the problem. "Captain, I need to shut down the main reactor for 3 minutes, Katie said. "Do it," Adams replied without hesitation. Zilthara grabbed the captain's arm. "You are shutting down. Your power source in the middle of space? That could kill us all." Captain Adams looked at the professor with surprise. "Professor, Katie knows what she is doing. We trust her judgment." "But what if something goes wrong? What if the reactor does not restart?" "Then we will fix it," Adams said simply. "We always do." The professor watched as the humans worked together to repair their ship. They moved through areas filled with deadly radiation, worked with tools that could cut through metal, and handled chemicals that would kill them if they made a mistake. But they showed no fear, only focus and determination. Within 2 hours, the problem was fixed. The humans returned to their normal duties as if nothing had happened. "Captain," Zilthara said when the excitement was over, "I must speak with your ship's doctor." I need to understand how humans can remain so calm in mortal danger. Dr. Carl Brooks was a tall, thin man with kind eyes and steady hands. He welcomed the professor into his medical bay, which was filled with equipment for treating injuries in space. Dr. Brooks, I have just witnessed something I do not understand, Zilthara began. Your crew faced a situation that could have killed everyone on the ship, yet they showed no fear. How is this possible? Dr. Brooks sat down across from the professor. Professor, humans have what we call a fight-or-flight response. When we face danger, our bodies prepare us to either fight the threat or run away from it. But your crew did neither. They simply worked to solve the problem. That is because humans can do something most species cannot do, Dr. Brooks explained. We can override our survival instincts when necessary. We can choose to face danger instead of running from it. Zilthara felt a chill run through his body. You can ignore your instinct to survive? Not ignore it, Professor. We can control it. Our brains are wired to stay calm under pressure and think clearly even when facing death. It is how our ancestors survived on Earth. But surely this is just training. You teach your people to be brave. Dr. Brooks shook his head. Training helps, but this ability is built into us. Human children will run toward danger to help others, even when they are afraid. We cannot help ourselves. Over the next few days, Professor Zilthara observed more human behavior that disturbed him. He watched as crew members volunteered for dangerous repairs outside the ship, floating in the vacuum of space with only thin suits protecting them. He saw them laugh and joke while working with equipment that could kill them instantly. Most disturbing of all, he learned that humans actively sought out the most dangerous jobs. The deep space exploration crews were made up entirely of volunteers who had chosen to leave the safety of Earth to travel into the unknown. Why do you do this? He asked Katie Walsh as she prepared for another dangerous repair mission. Katie paused while putting on her spacesuit. Professor, someone has to explore, someone has to fix things when they break. Someone has to go to the dangerous places and do the hard jobs. But why does it have to be you? Katie smiled. Because I am good at it. And because if I do not do it, who will? That evening, Zilthara called his assistant Velnari back on the Academy planet. Professor, how is your research going? She asked. Velnari, I need you to look something up for me. Search our database for any species that voluntarily enters hostile environments. What kind of hostile environments, Professor? Any kind. Radiation zones, vacuum of space, dangerous planets, areas where other species have died. Velnari worked quietly for several minutes. Finally, she looked up at the screen. Professor, I found records of species that have been forced into hostile environments by war or disaster, but I cannot find any records of species that choose to enter such places. What, about exploration? Surely other species explore dangerous areas. Some species explore, Professor, but only when they are forced to by overpopulation or resource shortages. And they send expendable members of their society, not their best people. Zilthara felt his worldview beginning to crack. Velnari, humans send their most skilled individuals into the most dangerous situations. They volunteer for these missions. They compete for the chance to face deadly challenges. That is not normal behavior, Professor. No, it is not. Zilthara looked out the window of his guest quarters at the stars surrounding the human ship. Velnari, I need you to research something else. Look up every species that has ever been completely eliminated by predators. Professor, that is a very long list. I know, but I want you to look for a pattern. How many species have been driven to complete extinction by predators? Velnari worked for a long time. When she finally looked up, her face was troubled. Professor, according to our records, no species has ever been completely eliminated by predators. Predators kill for food, but they do not destroy entire species. What about the dangerous predator species we keep on prison worlds? They conquered other species, Professor, but they did not eliminate them completely. They kept some alive as food sources or slaves. Zilthara sat down heavily in his chair. Velnari, in all of galactic history, has any species ever been completely eliminated? Yes, Professor. but only by natural disasters, disease, or what? Velnari's voice became very quiet. Or by civil wars, Professor. Some species have destroyed themselves through internal conflict. Zilthara ended the call and sat alone in his quarters. Outside, he could see human crew members working on the ship's exterior, floating in the deadly vacuum of space as if it were perfectly normal. He was beginning to understand that humans were not like any other species in the galaxy. They did not just survive in hostile environments. They thrived in them. They sought them out. They turned the most dangerous places in the universe into their homes. And if his growing suspicions were correct, they had been doing much more than just exploring since joining the Galactic Federation. The professor pulled up the classified Federation files he had special permission to access. It was time to learn what really happened to the species that had threatened galactic peace over the past 3 years. What he found in those files would change everything he thought he knew about humans and their place in the universe. Professor Zilthara returned to the Galactic Federation's central library with a growing sense of dread. The massive building on the capital world contained the records of every species in the galaxy, including files marked with the highest security levels. Archivist Prime Kelteron met him at the entrance. The ancient being looked like a walking tree with silver bark and glowing orange eyes that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Professor Zilthara, Keltaran said in a voice like rustling leaves, I understand you wish to access the restricted historical files. Yes, Archivist Prime. I am researching the fate of aggressive species that have threatened galactic peace in recent years. The old being's eyes dimmed slightly. That is a troubling subject, Professor. Are you certain you wish to see these records? I must understand what happened to these species. My research depends on it. Keltaran led him through corridors lined with data storage units containing the memories of dead worlds. They stopped at a sealed room marked with warnings in dozens of languages. Professor, before you begin, I must tell you something, the archivist said quietly. In my 3,000 years of maintaining these records, I have noticed patterns that disturb me. What kind of patterns? Dangerous species do not simply disappear on their own. Someone or something always helps them along their path to extinction. Zilthara felt his stomach tighten. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting nothing, Professor. I am simply observing facts. The files will speak for themselves. The professor entered the sealed room and began his research. The first file was about the Korath Empire, a species of aggressive warriors who had threatened to conquer 3 Federation worlds just 2 years ago. According to the official records, the Korath had destroyed themselves in a civil war over leadership disputes. But as Zilthara read deeper, he found strange details. The civil war had started immediately after a human diplomatic mission visited their home world. The human ambassador had been General Patricia Hayes, a woman with extensive military experience. The next file was about the Vex Collective, a hive-minded species that had tried to forcibly assimilate other Federation members. They had also destroyed themselves in internal conflicts, but only after human peace negotiators had spent several months studying their communication methods. File after file showed the same pattern. Aggressive species would threaten galactic peace, humans would arrive as diplomats or advisors, and within months the threatening species would tear itself apart from within. Zilthara requested a meeting with General Hayes, who agreed to speak with him via hologram from her office on Earth. General Hayes, I have been studying recent conflicts involving aggressive species. The professor began carefully. I noticed that human diplomatic missions were involved in many of these situations. General Hayes was a stern-looking woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Professor, the Federation often asks us to help with difficult diplomatic situations. We are happy to serve the cause of peace. But these species all destroyed themselves shortly after your missions. How do you explain this? The general's expression did not change. Professor, some species are inherently unstable. When they face external pressure, their natural flaws become apparent. We simply help them understand their own weaknesses. You help them understand their weaknesses? Diplomacy is about finding common ground, Professor. Sometimes the only common ground is helping people realize they have more to fear from each other than from outside forces. Zilthara felt a chill run down his spine. General, are you saying you deliberately caused these civil wars? General Hayes leaned forward slightly. Professor, I am saying that humans are very good at understanding what motivates other species. We know how to identify the cracks in their unity. We know how to ask the right questions and make the right observations. But you are supposed to be peacekeepers. We are peacekeepers, Professor. We keep the peace by solving problems. Sometimes the problem is a species that wants to hurt peaceful people. When that happens, we solve the problem. After the call ended, Zilthara sat in stunned silence. He requested another meeting, this time with Dr. Nathan Gray, a human psychologist who specialized in studying aggressive behavior. Dr. Gray was a quiet man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. Professor, I understand you are researching human diplomatic methods. Dr. Gray, I need to understand something. How do humans analyze other species so effectively? Well, Professor, humans have always been good at reading other creatures. Our ancestors had to understand the behavior of both prey animals and predators to survive. But you use this ability on intelligent species. Dr. Gray nodded. The same principles apply. Every species has psychological weaknesses, just like every species has physical weaknesses. Humans are naturally good at finding these weak points. Why? Because that is how we hunted, Professor. We did not chase down our prey with speed or overpower them with strength. We studied them, learned their habits, and found their vulnerabilities. Then we exploited those vulnerabilities to bring them down. Zilthara felt sick. Are you saying humans hunt other intelligent species? Not hunt, Professor. But we do study them the same way. We cannot help ourselves. When we meet a new species, we automatically start analyzing their behavior patterns, their social structures, their fears and desires. It is instinctive. And if that species is aggressive? Dr. Gray was quiet for a moment. Professor, humans have a very strong protective instinct. If we see a threat to our pack, we will neutralize that threat. We prefer to do it peacefully, but we will do it one way or another. Your pack? Any peaceful species we consider part of our group, Professor. Once humans adopt you as part of our pack, we will protect you from anything that tries to hurt you. That night, Zilthara called his assistant Velnari with shaking hands. Professor, you look terrible. What did you find? Velnari, I need you to research something for me. Since humans joined the Federation, how many aggressive species have been eliminated? Velnari worked quickly. Professor, in the 3 years since humans joined, 7 aggressive species have been eliminated through civil wars or internal conflicts. How many aggressive species were eliminated in the 50 years before humans joined? None, Professor. Before humans joined, aggressive species were either contained through military action or reformed through long-term diplomatic pressure. Zilthara closed his eyes. Velnari, humans are not peacekeepers. They are exterminators. They identify threats to peaceful species and eliminate those threats by turning them against themselves. Professor, that would make humans the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. No, Velnari. It makes them something worse. Traditional predators kill for food or territory. Humans kill to protect their pack, and their pack includes every peaceful species in the Federation. Zilthara looked at his classification chart on the wall. Herbivores, omnivores, and predators. For 40 years, he had believed these 3 categories covered every possible species. He was beginning to realize he needed a 4th category, something that had never existed before in the galaxy's history, something that hunted other hunters. Velnari, I need to prepare a presentation for the Federation Council. Every species in the galaxy needs to understand what humans really are. What are they, Professor? Zilthara stared at the data on his screen showing the systematic elimination of every species that had threatened galactic peace since humans arrived. They are apex predators, Velnari. Not just apex predators of Earth, but apex predators of the entire galaxy. And they do not even realize it themselves. The professor spent the rest of the night preparing the most important lecture of his career. A lecture that would reveal the terrifying truth about humanity's role in the galaxy. A truth that would change everything. The lecture hall was packed beyond capacity. Representatives from every species in the Galactic Federation filled the seats, crowded the aisles, and watched through holographic displays from across the galaxy. Word had spread that Professor Zilthara had made a discovery that would change how they understood the universe. The professor stood at his podium, looking out at hundreds of alien faces. His four hands trembled slightly as he arranged his notes. In the front row sat the human delegation, including Dr. Alex Murphy, Lisa Carter, and Commander Jake Morrison. They looked curious, but not worried. "Honored delegates," Zilthara began, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "3 months ago, I believed I understood how to classify every intelligent species in the galaxy. Today I must tell you that I was wrong." A murmur ran through the audience. The professor activated his holographic display, showing his familiar classification chart. "For 40 years I have taught that all species fall into 3 categories: herbivores who eat only plants and avoid conflict, omnivores who eat both plants and meat but can be taught to live peacefully, and predators who hunt other intelligent beings and cannot control their violent nature." He looked directly at the human delegation. "I classified humans as omnivores. I believed they were a normal species that had evolved beyond their primitive hunting phase. I was completely wrong." Dr. Murphy shifted in his seat but remained silent. "My research has revealed that humans are not omnivores. They are not even traditional predators. They are something that has never existed before in galactic history." Zilthara changed his display to show images of human behavior he had collected over the past months. Humans climbing mountains, fighting for sport, working in dangerous conditions, exploring hostile environments. Humans are apex predators, but unlike any predator we have ever studied, they do not hunt for food or territory. They hunt for a different reason entirely. The audience was completely silent now. Even the humans looked concerned. Humans hunt to protect their pack, and their pack includes every peaceful species in this room. The professor brought up his most disturbing data: charts showing the elimination of aggressive species since humans joined the Federation. In the 3 years since humans became Federation members, 7 aggressive species that threatened galactic peace have been eliminated. Not through military action, but through civil wars and internal conflicts that began immediately after human diplomatic contact. Gasps and worried sounds came from the audience. Several delegates began talking urgently to each other. Humans possess an ability that no other species has developed. They can analyze the psychological weaknesses of other species and exploit those weaknesses to turn enemies against themselves. They do this instinctively without conscious planning. Zilthara looked at General Hayes, who was watching via hologram from Earth. When humans encounter a species that threatens peaceful beings, they automatically begin what they call problem solving. They study the threat, find its weaknesses, and eliminate it by making it destroy itself. Commander Morrison stood up slowly. "Professor, are you accusing humans of genocide?" "No, Commander. I'm explaining that humans are natural ecosystem managers. You eliminate threats to the peaceful species you have adopted as your pack without even realizing you are doing it." The professor changed his display again, showing evolutionary trees of Earth's predators. On Earth, humans were never prey animals. They had no natural predators. Instead, they became the predators of other predators. They hunted the creatures that hunted other animals. This behavior has continued in space. Dr. Murphy finally spoke. "Professor, you are suggesting that humans are some kind of galactic police force?" "Dr. Murphy, I'm suggesting that humans are galactic apex predators whose hunting instinct is triggered by threats to peaceful species. You cannot help yourselves. When you see a species that wants to hurt others, your predatory nature activates automatically." Zilthara brought up his final piece of evidence. "Every human diplomatic mission to aggressive species has resulted in the elimination of that species. This is not coincidence. This is instinct." The audience erupted in shocked conversations. Some delegates looked terrified, others amazed, still others grateful. "But Professor," called out a delegate from the peaceful garden worlds, "if this is true, then humans have been protecting us all along." "Exactly. Zilthara replied. Humans joined the Federation and immediately began unconsciously hunting and eliminating every species that posed a threat to peaceful worlds. They have turned the galaxy into a safe place for herbivores and peaceful omnivores. Lisa Carter stood up. Professor, you make it sound like humans are monsters. Ms. Carter, I make it sound like humans are the most effective predators in the universe. But your prey is not peaceful species. Your prey is other predators. The professor walked closer to the human delegation. The remarkable thing about humans is that they do not see themselves as predators. They genuinely believe they are peacekeepers and diplomats. This allows them to form real friendships with the species they protect. Dr. Murphy looked confused. So you are saying humans are good predators? Dr. Murphy, I am saying humans are the ultimate predators. You have made the galaxy safer for every peaceful species by eliminating the dangerous ones. You have done in 3 years what the Federation could not accomplish in centuries. Zilthara returned to his podium and looked out at the mixed audience of prey species, peaceful omnivores, and the small group of humans who had unknowingly become the galaxy's guardians. Honored delegates, I must update my classification system. There are not 3 types of intelligent species, there are 4. He activated a new display showing his revised chart. Herbivores, who eat plants and avoid conflict. Omnivores, who eat plants and meat but prefer peace. Predators, who hunt other intelligent beings for food or conquest. And finally, a new category that contains only one known species. The display showed a single entry. Apex Guardian Predators. Population humans, 1 species. Humans hunt other hunters to protect the peaceful species they have adopted as family. They are predators whose prey is predators themselves. The hall was silent for a long moment. Finally, an elderly delegate from the Crystal Commune spoke up. Professor, are you telling us that we are safer because humans exist? Zilthara nodded. Honored Elder, I am telling you that the galaxy is safer because humans exist. They are unconscious guardians who eliminate threats before those threats can harm peaceful species. Dr. Murphy stood up again. Professor, if this is all true, what does it mean for the future? Zilthara looked at the human scientist with something that might have been respect, or possibly fear. It means, Dr. Murphy, that as long as humans exist, peaceful species will be protected from predators. Your people have become the ultimate guardians of galactic civilization. The professor paused, looking around the room at delegates who were beginning to understand their place in a universe protected by unconscious human hunters. It also means that any species foolish enough to threaten peaceful worlds will face the most efficient predators the galaxy has ever produced. Predators who do not kill for food or territory, but who kill to protect their adopted family. As the lecture ended and delegates began to file out, Zilthara updated his classification database one final time. Under Apex Guardian Predators, he added a note. Recommendation: do not threaten peaceful species while humans exist. They will solve you like a problem, and you will not see them coming. Outside the lecture hall, Commander Morrison approached the professor. So we are the good guys? Morrison asked with a slight smile. Zilthara looked at the human officer and realized that even now, after learning the truth about their nature, the human still did not fully understand what he was. Commander Morrison, the professor said quietly, you are the most dangerous predators in the universe. Fortunately for the rest of us, you only hunt other predators. As the human walked away, Zilthara reflected on the strange twist of evolution that had created a species of predators whose hunting instinct was triggered by threats to others rather than threats to themselves. The galaxy was a safer place because of an accident of evolution on a small blue planet, and the humans themselves would probably never fully understand the role they played as the universe's ultimate guardians.